It is a period of Star Wars mania. As new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Force. I am one of your hosts, David Cottingham, along with Casey Cooley.
Good even.
Good even.
That's what they used to say back in the old days.
Oh, right.
That's what I hear.
Good.
Read it in a book.
Thanks for joining us. This is episode 3.
Revenge? No
revenge. This is the Grand Master, where we're going to be profiling the Grand Master Yoda.
Very good.
And then hitting on some recent news in the Star Wars world. Do some trivia. The normal things we do on this show.
Routine now.
Yes.
You should know.
To begin, though, you can reach us at InsideTheForce.com, where you can subscribe to us and keep listening to us. If you're listening to us, you've obviously found us somehow. We're on iTunes, as well as our RSS feed is on the website there. Follow us at Inside the Force on Twitter for all the latest updates and news from not just our podcast, but from Star Wars. We're retweeting a bunch of stuff. News as it happens. We are part of the 21 Network, and the 21 Network can be reached at 21network.com, where you can get all kinds of podcasts, from comics to independent filmmakers to Popular Fanatics, which is a pop culture-based show. Go there and check out all of the podcasts that we offer. So the first thing we want to do before we get into Yoda, we want to mention the winner of our contest that we put out last week, right?
Yes.
I actually didn't think it was going to be just a week. But we got some good avid listeners, I think, that we're discovering. And our if you're just tuning into this one, we put a contest on last week saying first person that rated us on iTunes, we were going to send out the Darth Sidious and Darth Maul action figures because we did the rule of 2 last week. And the winner is CJ Mitchell. Yeah. Who goes by the handle Chucks and Levi, I guess. I mean, that's how it's spelled. That's his handle on Twitter, and obviously it's on iTunes as well, because he wrote our first review on iTunes, which is, quoting, I've been looking around for Star Wars, Batman, and all-around comics-based podcasts, and 21 Network delivers, especially here with Inside the Force. The first podcast is amazing, insightful, and leaves you wanting more. Thanks for the comment, man. That was great. So we are going to get a hold of you and send out these figures for you. Appreciate that. Stay tuned, because we're going to have more stuff to give away as we get deeper into the Force. All right, man. So we've got Yoda.
Yeah, not a lot, really.
Not a lot. There is not a lot of stuff around Yoda.
Surprisingly.
But on a side note, he is my favorite character.
And the winner of This Is Madness will be revealed today. I think it'll be Yoda.
Absolutely. You're right. This is Mad. You're referring to
the tournament.
The tournament on StarWars.com.
Yeah.
Down to him and Vader, right? And I mean, Yoda, he didn't overwhelmingly win a lot of his matches. I think the first round he did. I'll just pull it up right now. But but I know Vader was winning everything easily. And so I'm pulling it up right now. So Yoda and Vader, I think they had 16 characters on each side. Is that what they did?
I think so.
Light side, one on the light side, one on the dark side. So Yoda, his first round. Yeah, see, Yoda went against first round Mace Windu. And actually, but that's the only one he destroyed. He won 83% to 17%, which is very surprising.
That's pretty good. Yeah, Mace Windu.
But he went against Luke the next round, 67 to 33. And then he went against Obi-Wan, and he only went 55 to 45. And then he went against R2, and he only got 67, which I thought he would destroy the R2.
Yeah.
But anyway, Vader went against Grievous the first round, 90-10. Then he went to Darth Maul, 79.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Then he went against Jabba, 74. Then he went against Boba Fett, 74. So he demolished. You know, everybody's voting for Vader. So it leads me to think that Vader might actually win this.
Could, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Who are you voting for?
I would vote for Yoda, probably.
Yeah.
He's just so cute.
Oh, man. He's
He's
man.
awesome, but he's really awesome.
But and one reason is you have a fact about him that's pretty awesome that kind of defines that. But so let's get into Yoda.
Okay.
We'll dive right into profiling Yoda. I think we've done Coruscant. We've done the Rule of Two, which kind of defines the Sith. Darth Bane, really. We hit about Darth Bane. And now we're getting Yoda, who is, for all of you guys don't understand or know, very old.
Very old.
By the time the movies come out.
Yes.
So Casey described the... why don't you hit on that because you found some other research about the ABY and the BBY.
Yeah, the last week we had talked about the dating system that Star Wars uses, and we described it as ABY, BBY after the Battle of Yavin or before the Battle of Yavin. And this is what was established for us readers to understand the timing of Star Wars and all of that. But what the actual in the Star Wars universe, how the characters of Star Wars used to document time, they use what's called it's resynchronization. Is the actual I don't know what you would call it.
It's like
the dating system.
It's like Stardate in Star Trek.
It really
right?
is like Stardate. Yeah, you do month, date, year kind of thing. This is abbreviated as I think RS or BRS is what we see a lot here, and that BRS means before resynchronization. And I'm trying to pull it up here on the pad, but it doesn't seem to be working for me. But basically, this is just something that the people of Star Wars, the characters or whatever, the government, whoever decides the stuff, we're just like, yeah, we're gonna basically find a way to. So apparently this is like a recalibration of what they originally had, which I mean I haven't done a whole lot of reading of all this stuff yet because I just saw it today, but I'm trying to figure out the actual what they base it around, and I couldn't find the actual date of what they base it around.
Of what they're synchronizing
the
around,
0
basically.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to skim through here, but it's hard to see. But basically, yeah, there's before resynchronization, and there's just I guess resynchronization or whatever. Everything's after whatever. So just a little even deeper trivia here.
And that's and what you're meaning is that is actually the way they keep, not us.
Yeah,
because ours is basically, as far as like us as in the real world here is that's how we categorize their timeline as the BBY, the Battle of Yavin, basically.
Yeah, and I'm reading here too. Like even that was disbanded. Even that was switched, I think, after the New Republic.
Oh, really?
Or like when the New Republic came up, it was called. It's the Galactic Standard Calendar.
Oh,
and
right.
It's centered on the Coruscant cycle. So I guess since it's the core planet, the Queen of the Core, that's right. Basically the rule of thumb. So the Coruscant solar cycle that I think we said in the first episode is 368 days.
That's right.
Around that time. 24 hours for a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I'm still trying to figure out what their 0 year is, which is really hard to figure out. So looks like because I feel like I'm reading here, I feel like they've done this several times. They've redone their calendar several times.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. So there's differences the Treaty of Coruscant is also I think they go around what's called epochs, different high points in their timeline.
Yeah, their history.
There's one epoch, one high point, the Treaty of Coruscant, which I don't know what that is right off the bat, but that came up 3,653 BBY. But it looks like at one point they actually used that moment as a recalibration of sorts. So they abbreviated that as BTC or ATC, so before the Treaty of Coruscant or after the Treaty of Coruscant.
Wow.
So there's so much. I mean, they're not very consistent in their in their own stuff. There's other things like the Rusin Reformation. We talked about Rusin, I think.
Yeah.
The great resynchronization of 35 BBY, which I guess is their 0 hour. The resynchronization is 35 BBY, which is the formation. Wait, no, another one is the formation of the Galactic Empire, the Battle of Endor. So there's just so many different. There's a lot of different things.
Yeah, and what's crazy to think that they, like, are they going by one? I guess they're going by one calendar in the galaxy, right? Because Because like I would think time would be different in Coruscant than it would like in the Outer Rim where you're on Tatooine. You know what I mean? Because you're so far away.
Very hard.
I mean, how did you even? Because the same day is not even. It shouldn't be the same day.
Even telling time,
I don't even know how.
Telling like seconds, minutes, and days and hours is still. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. If we ever even get into that.
Yeah. Anyways,
but it seems like this is kind of pretty close as far as his birth date, Yoda's birth date.
Yeah.
His date of birth is 896 BBY, which in parentheses here it says 861 before synchronization.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the 30-year difference.
35 years, 35 BBY seems to be their 0 hour. So that's like 3 years before
Episode 1.
Episode 1. Which
So whatever
I don't know what
exactly.
happens. Yeah.
Whatever happens then, because it doesn't seem like there's anything here in his. Yeah, 33 was the kind of the next big thing that happened. I don't know. So I don't know what they're basing that on, but probably some treaty.
Yeah.
But anyway, some quick facts. He was born, like I said, he's born 869 or 896. I'm sorry. He died for ABY, which is in Return of the Jedi, obviously, which put him at literally exactly 900 years old. Standing at a whopping 66 centimeters tall. Which is 0.66 in the metric system in meters. So anyway, he's basically considered the Grand Master. He shortly after he was born, he left his homeworld, which is an unknown planet. We don't know what planet he was born on,
right?
Because there's apparently not many of his species because they don't even know what species he is.
Right.
So he's born on a remote planet. He leaves that planet with a human friend when they're very young, and they're not even aware of the whole force sensitivity things and whatever. So anyway, the ship gets struck by an asteroid, and they're left floating in space, just floating, him and this human. And they don't even give a name. But finally, after floating, when they're almost near death, the sensors pick up a star system not too far away, so they actually make it to the star system. They spend several days there before they're found by a Jedi Master, and it is
crazy name,
Kekana del Gormo, right?
Yeah, I mean, pronounce that best.
Yeah, exactly. So he's revealed to them, and he tells them that both of them are very force sensitive. So he trains them in the ways of the Force. And then eventually, the Galactic Starship, Republic Starship, picked up the distress signal, came and got them, and took them to Coruscant.
Yep.
Where they immediately joined the Jedi and start training. Yoda passes the Gathering. Now, the Gathering is something we'll probably profile, but if you've seen the Clone Wars, the Gathering is part of the rite of passage almost from being a youngling to being a Jedi or becoming a Padawan.
Right. And
after you do the Gathering, what's part of it is constructing your own lightsaber. Because they're not, Jedis aren't giving a lightsaber. Part of the Gathering is that you have to find your crystal. And then you have to basically use the Force to put. It's pretty awesome when you think about it. But so the droid, how do you say it? Huyang?
Huyang. Huyang.
Yeah, and he's in the show.
Yeah,
he's in that part of the show. So he ends up, of course, assisting Yoda in constructing his first lightsaber.
I feel bad for that human male because what is he doing?
I don't know.
He must have been so jealous of Yoda.
I guess.
Just like he's.
I wish they wouldn't tell
up.
who he is. What happened to him, but they don't. Yeah. They don't reveal who it is.
Home crying after Yoda became awesome. I was with you since the beginning.
So anyway, so after he becomes he moves up the rankings pretty fast by 800 BBY, which is basically 100 years after or 96 years after he was born. He's granted the title of Jedi Master.
Yeah.
And he begins training his first student, one of many Padawans he would do. He basically ends up, by the time we get to like episode 1, for hundreds of years, he's basically training every youngling that comes in. Everybody comes through and kind of goes through Yoda training.
Yeah. Which kind of like, because some people have questions about the whole Star Wars, how like in episode 6, Yoda says like, Obi-Wan says like, you trained me one time kind of thing. Like, was I any different when you trained me?
Right.
Talking to Luke, and like, well, wait, I thought Qui-Gon trained him. Well, Yoda kind of trained everybody at some point.
That's right. And then once they become a Padawan, basically, they go on and get trained by a master.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he another quick thing about his fighting techniques, because there are different fighting techniques, which that's a whole other thing we'll get into eventually. Guys, got so much to do.
Yeah, Mace Windu has a very awesome one. I'll just say, I've read about his before.
Yes,
this is very strange.
Now, I guess they're formed by numbers. They got names. They
all have different names.
Yeah. But he uses the twirling and acrobatic Form 4 techniques. Yeah. Which there's a name for that.
Vapid.
Right. Yeah. I think.
Knights of the Republic actually touches up on a lot of the fighting styles.
And Yoda is a master of all but the Vapad.
Oh, that's one he didn't do. Okay.
Which is Form 7.
Couldn't get that one down.
He just couldn't get it down.
There's just something about
he's good at it, but he's not the best at it. So, and then and what's funny is that, and you can see this in episode 2, he is basically the only Jedi that I think they know of that fights with his robe on. Yeah. Like all the other ones take their robes off to fight. Yoda doesn't take it off. He just goes. He just goes. So, then, let's see. So around some key dates we were hitting on throughout his life, because obviously he's very old, but there's not a lot of history on him as far as his personal history. But I wanted to pick out one. So around 500 BBY, because this kind of ties into the Clone Wars. Yeah, he crash lands on Dathomir. Mm-hmm. And comes across the witches, which we have come to know and not created, but
basically raised, whatever.
The Darth Maul, right? And his brother, and Ventress,
that race. Basically.
Correct. That's where we basically learn how Dooku came across Maul, right, and Savage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he went to them to get an apprentice, basically, every time. Asajj Ventress and all that stuff. So anyway, he goes there, and it was cool because he goes there and says, he fights. He basically fights the witches, and then it comes to a stalemate, and he agrees to leave the ship's data tapes. So basically, he crash lands on with a ship full of tapes. Although he left no means of, it says it here, although he left no means of reading the tapes, Yoda foresaw when a Jedi would come back to save the planet from these to help the Rels, what they bestowed to Rel of the Singing Mountain clans, basically this group of people that were kind of held hostage by the witches almost, and they were kind of under their rule. Well, Yoda foresaw that a Jedi would come and save the planet from darkness. Information that were on the tapes could be safely shared with the witches. But anyway, and this happened actually in 8 ABY. Did you read this?
I did, yeah.
In 8 ABY, which is 8 years after Episode 4, Yoda's final student, Luke Skywalker, finds his way to Dathomir and fulfills the prophecy and kind of saves these people or whatever. So it took nearly 500 years for this prophecy to fulfill, and because obviously during the Clone Wars, Dathomir is still under the control of the witches and whatnot. So let's see. in 400. No, let's see. Let's skip down to. So around 200 BBY is when Yoda. It's weird because this is 200 years. Yoda and some other Jedi Masters discovered that the shape of the Force was beginning to flux. Mm-hmm. That actually, they started to understand or trying to get wind that the Sith power was growing. They were feeling it. Mm-hmm. Something was wrong. They were, the power of the dark side was growing. The Council, they just believed that the Sith were emerging. Although it was weird because for that, for 800 years they thought that, we had talked about this last week. For 800 years they thought that they were extinct, that they all died in that thought bomb, not knowing that Bane was out there.
Yeah.
So it's funny. So then around that same time, Yoda actually said he went to the council and said that because of this rising dark side, that this may suggest the imminent approach of the Chosen One, which we all know to be Anakin Skywalker. Which I guess is never clear whether or not he really is or not.
Yeah, I actually read some about this, and because I was looking up maybe a potential topic being the prophecy,
right?
And I'll just say quickly, George Lucas was quoted saying that Anakin was the Chosen One. The Jedi just misinterpreted the prophecy.
Okay,
so maybe he was supposed to fall to destroy the Jedi.
Yeah, I think
to balance it out.
Yeah, I think in the end he fulfills the prophecy.
Yeah,
I mean it just takes, it's not all good, and then the prophecy is fulfilled. I mean it has to become very dark, and then fulfilled. So I think that it wasn't necessarily the prophecy was wrong. It was just that it took falling to be able to fulfill it. So the prophecy then, so he does that, tells him that, and then what's funny is that several of the younger Jedi disputed Yoda's findings and formed a breakaway sect called the Pententium. Their hearsay was not welcomed by the council, and Yoda led the campaign to expel them from the order. So he's like, you ain't going to believe me? You're out.
I'm sorry, you're out.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, another good thing is in 100 BBY, he came across the infant Dooku, heir to the title of Count on the planet of Sereno. He was discovered by the Jedi and willingly given to the Order by his parents. And then so Yoda became his basically his master. He became the Padawan under Yoda. Taught him basically everything. And Dooku is said. I mean, I'd love to get into Dooku's profile more because he became really one of the most powerful Jedis, just behind Yoda and Mace Windu. Basically, Count Dooku was like really up there. We see him as kind of an older Jedi.
He actually really is old. Like 100 BBY. If he was like 90 something and 91 probably, like episode 3.
That's right.
It's crazy.
So Yoda really assisted a lot of Dooku's lightsaber training. And then we get to, of course, that's, after that, really, we get into more closer to what's happening in the movies. You get to 32 BBY, the Battle of Naboo happens and all this stuff. And, by that time, Chancellor Palpatine is already Darth Sidious. I think we end up saying, I don't know if we talked about this off the show or at some point. Was it about 10 years before Episode 1 was when Palpatine became a Sith or something like that?
Oh, he actually became Sith.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think we've talked about that.
I think we were mentioning that. Because we were talking about how long Maul and him were actually hidden.
Yeah.
Because there's some pre-books before Episode 1 about Maul doing some secret missions. Because we were talking about when he killed Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah,
So I think it was around 40 BBY or something like that, like 40, 42 BBY.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he's been playing, he's been senator up until episode 1, and then he becomes chancellor, obviously. And what's crazy is that, that was so powerful with the dark side, and how much I see this whole thing about now. I know a lot of people are totally against this whole midi-chlorian thing,
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm for George, so whatever he wants to do. But what's crazy to think that is that the midi-chlorians are, living cells that are living inside them, right? That kind of give you knowledge of the Force. Basically, they're in your bloodstream is what they I think they're told us,
so, yeah.
right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, if you think about it, how short he is, right? And what did Obi-Wan say in episode 1?
About midichlorian count, like not even
For Anakin.
Yeah, like he has way more midichlorians than Master Yoda.
Not even Master Yoda has that many.
Yeah.
It's like 10,000, over 10,000.
Yeah.
But to think from a little creature, no one but Anakin had more than him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And basically he's filled with it. I mean, he's just all midi-chlorian, right? I mean, he's basically, which is unbelievable because that was the whole thing about why a lot of people were questioning, like, why can't Darth Vader, as in the suit, why can't he take the Emperor still? Well, it's very hard because he lost a lot of his midi-chlorians when he got burnt, and he is not as powerful now as Sidious. So, to think that a little guy like this can have that much power, but even with that power, they still couldn't even sense Sidious, the Chancellor, was the bad guy.
Like dark side's apparently pretty powerful,
especially at that time. And I'd love to really get into figuring that out. Like, when did that start? Like, I mean, it says here around 200. They started thinking like something's different.
What happened around that time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, why? How? Was it obviously started with Bane probably, and it just took that time? I don't know.
How are 2 Sith so potent?
That's right.
And, like, to infect the Force.
Exactly. How are they so much to balance that? Because there's hundreds of Jedi, hundreds.
Yeah.
But there were. I mean, I guess there were. I don't know. It was dark Jedis and stuff like that. I don't know, but it was still a pretty big balance. So anyway, once we get into the Clone Wars, you got some interesting stuff about the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the Clone Wars, or just during that time period with the original show, the prequels. You all should pretty much know, 'cause that's pretty much all there is to Yoda. There's a lot of stuff in the Clone Wars that you can see in the show, but even in the books, in the expanded universe, there's some stuff that Yoda does in the expanded universe. One particular book that I read a while back that I really liked, called Dark Rendezvous, is about Yoda getting kind of like, I don't know, like a distress call, or just getting a message from Count Dooku. Count Dooku is telling Yoda that he's ready and willing to kind of defect and to kind of give up and stop, I guess, to surrender in a way, and wants Yoda to meet him at this safe place to talk about it. And Yoda's like, and there's more to it, I'm paraphrasing, but Yoda knows basically that this is a trap, and so he goes anyways to try to talk him into turning over. Maybe if this is true or not. Maybe he can, because he has a hope. Maybe he can actually turn his old apprentice back to the light side. So he goes, and there's other Jedis involved and stuff like that. Like we see Anakin and Obi-Wan and some other Jedis at some point. But Yoda ends up at the end of the book going to this place and talking to Dooku, and it's a very cool, like, all these, like the Joker, Batman. They just like have this moment where they can just talk it out, So he's talking to Count Dooku, and Dooku's actually trying to convert Yoda to the dark side at some point. And he's like, Yoda, you should, why don't you come to the dark side? We're much more powerful and all that. And Yoda gives him this cool, awesome comeback, like, like, you don't want me coming to the dark side. Like, if I come to the dark side, I would be insanely powerful. Like, he would basically be more powerful than Palpatine. And what he does to prove his point, he gives Count Dooku like a Force vision.
Yes.
And just of what Yoda would look like as the dark side. Like, he is just a whirlwind of evil dark side power is what Yoda basically would be. And showing this to Dooku was like terrified. He's like, holy crap, he better not become the dark side because he will wipe me out. He'll kill everybody.
Yes.
And so that's like Yoda's just like, yeah, so I can't, like, for the sake of everybody living, I can't become part of the dark side.
And so that happens during the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Right?
I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have the time frame. I'm trying to look it up, but
No, because that makes sense. Because in episode 2,
Yeah.
when they fight, obviously he doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Because he keeps saying like, I've become more powerful, even more than you.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not true.
So yeah, Yoda. I mean, just imagine what Yoda would be like. That's
That is insane. Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a cool little tidbit during the Clone Wars about Yoda.
So one of the first things. So then once obviously at the end of the Clone Wars happens, he gets exiled. He basically exiles himself.
Yeah.
Before you get into where and how and what happens, the one things that he learns before he gets exiled, which is pretty cool, is that I don't know when this happens. I think it's sometime right before, but on Polis Massa, he communes with Qui-Gon Jinn, which is his former Padawan and Obi-Wan's master, who accepted to train Yoda in what's called secret will, WHIL, will techniques. He had learned after his death, yes. Which is weird. So what a will technique is from what's called the Ancient Order of the Wills, which was a higher order of beings connected to the Force. So there's a whole nother group of beings that could tap into the Force. And the history says that so the holy men, the upper holy men of this race were called shamans, and one of the shamans was known to have discovered the secret of eternal consciousness, and later Qui-Gon Jinn, he learned that secret, allowing him to interact with the living after his death. So that's how he became the first.
Like Force Ghost is what we know.
Correct.
As. Yeah.
That's right. So that's why whenever you saw, like, prior to Qui-Gon Jinn dying, whenever these Jedis died, because a lot of people questioned that in episode 1, like, so why are they burning them? Why isn't he disappearing? So it wasn't until Qui-Gon learned this. So after that, he was able to come back and commune with Yoda, train him, which was pretty cool because Yoda, it says later, Yoda, after hundreds of years, obviously, is now the Padawan again.
Yeah.
And Qui-Gon teaches him. So when you see him disappear in episode 6, in Return of the Jedi, that's what he's doing. He's basically becoming one of the essence with the Force. And he teaches Obi-Wan that. That's how Obi-Wan is able to do it when he dies at the hands of Vader in episode 4. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing because a lot of people were kind of questioning that with why is that happening and what happens with that. So Yoda, so that's what he says in episode 3 before they split up, him and Obi-Wan and Bail Organa. He says, I'm going to train you, Obi-Wan, to be able to commune with Qui-Gon. So apparently Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, hang out on Tatooine together. So
well, we can see that.
Exactly.
Spin-off.
Yeah, totally. If they can get Liam Neeson back. But anyway, so exiled. What else? What do you got? He gets exiled to Dagobah.
Yeah, to Dagobah. He knew to go to Dagobah too. Like he saw a vision of the Dark Side Cave some point. Don't know. I read it somewhere, but I can't remember exactly where.
Right.
But he knew about this Dark Side Cave, and so he's on exile. And what's cool is that, at the end of episode 3, Sidious is like trying to find the dead body of Yoda, and they said, we can't find a body. And he says, then he's not dead, search harder. So all up to that point, even to the point Yoda dies, Sidious knows Yoda is still alive, and he has a bounty out on him. And he's always, like it says here, he's always he keeps raising the bounty, and people keep bringing like fake dead Yodas to collect on the bounty, and he keeps like, no, and he puts a death penalty on the people who bring fake bounties and all this stuff. But so all this time Yoda is on Dagobah, no one knows about it because the Dark Side Cave. He chooses to live next to that cave because the Dark Side power neutralizes his light side presence.
Right.
It just it camouflages him, and so Yoda's able to live there. No one knows about it, and all throughout the time he's exiled, people come and cross him, all this time. And the Force Unleashed 2 game, we saw Starkiller come across Yoda. He didn't know who Yoda was, which is hilarious.
Yes.
But he found Yoda, actually found the Dark Side Cave and went in there. And Yoda's actual interaction with the cave is pretty interesting because it says here that he went into the cave and saw a dark side vision of Darth Sidious. It doesn't say what happened, but I'm assuming they fought.
Right.
And there's a couple times, there's like this one guy, George Cardass, who comes and I believe he's instructed by Yoda sometimes. Like there's some people who come to Dagobah, Yoda kind of trains them a little bit and sends them on their way. Swears them to secrecy so they can't tell anybody that he's there. And there's one time I remember reading in some book, I can't find it, but there's, I think Luke mentions, or someone mentions that Yoda came across, I think, a Dark Jedi at some point, or some creature, and had like a 3-day battle with them on Dagobah. And it's always like puzzled me, my buddy Adam. We've always wondered, like, who in the world is so powerful to fight Yoda for 3 days on Dagobah? But we got to think, he didn't have a lightsaber, so
That's right.
He had to find him some other way. So it's just curious to, Yoda spent 22 years or something like that on this planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, the reason why he was cloaked is that they erased Dagobah.
That's right.
Out of the archives.
Yeah.
Along with 37 other planets. Or it was one of 37 planets. So that's why, it's for a lot of people that might clear up the reason why, when Obi-Wan tells Luke, you will go to the Dagobah system, he's like, Dagobah system?
Yeah.
Because he's never heard of the Dagobah system.
Yeah.
It's not known to anybody at that time. So, so it's pretty neat. So on top of that, it kind of cancels out the experience. So so anyway, a couple of little quick facts. Basically, it's known after later on that it's said that Mace Windu, Count Dooku, and then Palpatine, Sidious, they were the only ones that were able to equally fight Yoda. I mean, everybody else would just get demolished, but those three were the only ones that could really. And then an interesting tidbit I read too, which we'll get into more about these things eventually too. But unlike other Jedi, Master Yoda possessed the knowledge of how to create his own Jedi holocrons. So apparently, I don't know too much about holocrons, but apparently not every Jedi can make one. And Yoda was one of the few that could. So a lot of the history and knowledge were kept in these holocrons, and it seems like not all Jedis can make them. So
maybe you'll see some Yoda holocrons in Episode 7.
Totally. Because we talked about holocrons with the Sith has holocrons, and Darth Bane, like we talked last week, found
Darth
Revan's holocron. So that's pretty awesome. So holocrons might be something we need to get into sooner or later. But anyway, that's really all the main points of Yoda in his life. Lived a long 900-year life. Again, one of my absolute favorites. The favorite. I got the Yoda. What do you call that photo mosaic thing hanging in my office? I've got action figure Yoda sitting here. I mean, bobblehead Yoda's, and I even bought my daughter Sammy's got a Yoda T-shirt. So Yoda is he's by far my favorite Star Wars character, and it just it just goes to show you I think the relevance of him is key. That no matter how big or small you are. The small guys are usually the most powerful.
Size matters not.
Correct. That's right.
That should have been my end quote. Dang it! I should have waited. You got it.
You got to do your end quote.
I'll think of something else.
I'm sure there's plenty of good Yoda lines. So anyway, that's our profile on Yoda. You can go to Wikipedia, of course, and get some more info if you want to read about some other dates of him. So we'll get into our next thing, which is some recent news.
Yes.
A couple big news that came out this past week.
Probably maybe the biggest thing that hit actually pretty soon after this episode aired last week LucasArts has been shut down officially.
Yeah.
This is huge. But you were telling me that they weren't making a whole lot of money anyways, a whole lot of profit, that is.
That's right.
So basically, here's like the kind of try to summarize the official statement from Disney. So they, so Disney, this wasn't just a kind of quick spur of the moment thing. They've been planning this since the fall, since the deal was announced and made. So they've been talking about this for a while. But basically, Disney evaluated the position in the games market, and so they wanted to shift all of LucasArts projects from the LucasArts kind of internal development, because LucasArts, everything was private, so they developed it internally in-house. They had like outside people kind of like help out some stuff, but everything was mainly inside LucasArts, and they licensed everything themselves. So basically, Disney realized that I guess this was a bad business plan that they were having. So they wanted to move everything from LucasArts into their own place, Disney's own company. And so they just basically dissolved and got rid of LucasArts, and they laid off a lot of people from LucasArts, and a lot of people were mad and all that stuff, and they just didn't want to take the risk of losing any money. So they wanted to put it in Disney, create a broader market for the games. And what this means is a lot of layoffs happened, but also a lot of titles, a lot of Star Wars games are in development, or canceled or shelved, probably canceled. Two of the games, one of them is I'm trying to find here. It's
called First Assault.
First Assault, which I don't know anything about that game.
No, nothing's been revealed about that as far as I know.
But the biggest game, which hopefully you guys have heard about it, is Star Wars 1313, which would have been about the underground of Coruscant, level 1313, about bounty hunters and the kind of scum of that planet, duking it out. We saw a lot of footage from this and a lot of demo play from this game last year at Celebration. This game looked incredible. Like, think of Assassin's Creed or Arkham Asylum or Uncharted. Awesome, amazing graphics.
Never before seen graphics.
Seamless interaction between the cinematic parts of the game
Correct.
And the actual gameplay. Like, it was nothing I've ever seen before.
We saw firsthand.
Yeah, nothing I've ever seen before in a video game. And there was a lot of development being made. It was supposed to come out this fall, but now it is tentatively probably pretty much canceled. But what I am reading here is that that the LucasArts, the people who were LucasArts are now Disney owned, they are looking at third-party licensing to kind of hopefully resurrect these games. There's a quote here that there's always a possibility that Star Wars 1313 can still come out via licensing. So they're still trying to figure out how to bring this game out. And just really recently, like within a couple of days, now it would have been like 4 days, this past Saturday, I read that 1313 had been kind of rewritten, or maybe not rewritten, kind of changed a little bit to be basically a Boba Fett video game.
Right.
There's a couple of concept art, some couple of pictures that have been released showing Boba Fett in the game. And I don't know if it would have been a playable character. It's not really confirmed to what role he would have had.
It just says main character.
Yeah, so maybe he would have. Maybe it would be more of Boba Fett's story, because we saw who the main character was in 1313. It was some human, just some guy.
Yeah. We don't necessarily know.
Could he have been Boba Fett? I mean,
yeah, I guess that's possible.
He could have become Boba Fett, but I doubt it.
I doubt it. I think that's the thing too, is we don't necessarily. We saw the first parts of the game, the beginning, so we don't necessarily know for sure if those were the main characters.
That's true.
Or you just kind of learn the gameplay.
That's
until
true.
they get down there, and then all of a sudden you take over as Boba Fett. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they
obviously tried to keep that a secret. Yeah. So,
and apparently this idea to make it Boba Fett came a little bit later on in the production of the game, because I read like George Lucas just came in the office one day and was like, "Let's make this about Boba Fett."
Wow.
So they made about Boba Fett. But there's some rumors going around saying, like, what if they canceled the game partly because of the Boba Fett spinoff that's coming out?
Right.
Maybe they want to just release it when the movie comes out, which is great, and it's good marketing there. Or they there's just some I guess there's some story elements that was in the game that would be in the Boba Fett spinoff. So there's a couple of things that could happen like that. And there's a quote here that if you can help make light of it, that one of the reasons why they canceled 1313, and the quote says, they ended up I guess they being the company that made it, LucasArts, they ended up with movie tech that wouldn't fit in the game, and game tech that wouldn't fit in the movie being Episode 7, I think. I think that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or just the Star Wars movies in general. And it says 1313 was always in danger of not being made. So that's a weird thing to say, which I don't believe that because,
yeah.
I mean, so I don't know if it meant like it was technology-wise it was inconsistent with the movies. I don't know, but there's still a lot of questions, a lot of clouded messages.
Well, I mean, no, the movies never. I don't know how long or how far you go into Coruscant.
Yeah.
1313, but there's no mention of that kind of stuff in the whole series. But, man, what we saw of that game, it was just incredible. It was a whole another world too. So, I think that was what it was protecting. It was that there weren't any known characters in there. I mean, granted, yes, you throw in a Boba Fett, then you're kind of tied to a certain continuity that he's already created for himself. But this was, this was between 3 and 4 at some point. So probably more towards 4 if he's got the armor and he's older.
Yeah.
That just would have been a freaking fantastic.
I'm reading here that just some stats here, some facts. Disney laid off 150 people when they shut down LucasArts. And they canceled First Assault, 1313. They're still going to use the LucasArts name, but the studio's gone. They're just using the brand, basically. And the gaming company, Kotaku, which did some Star Wars games, Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast, they're quoted saying, I guess they had a hand in 1313, but they were saying there's a slim chance that 1313 will get a license to be released. So the odds are, quote, effectively 0 that it'll come out. It's just such a disappointment. I mean, God,
yes.
I hope it. I hope deep down the reason isn't that Disney it's too dark for us, because it looks like it was be a very dark game.
Yeah.
I hope this doesn't seem to be bode well for the live action show that they were planning on making, unless they change the live action show, like making it more lighthearted. It's just, I need something from the movies to make me happy about this.
I know, man.
I mean,
I agree.
I still like the idea.
But there was another news tip that kind of shed some light
about
Filoni.
Oh yeah. Dave Filoni, the creative director behind the Clone Wars, which has been canceled. Dave Filoni released the video on StarWars.com, I think is what it was, saying how he's still with Disney. He's in charge of a lot of stuff there with the animation department. He is in early stages.
Lucasfilm Animation seems like it's still there.
Yeah, I mean that made a lot of money with the Clone Wars.
What's that?
It did make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah,
but Dave Filoni says that he's in early stages of production for new animated series. Not Clone Wars. He didn't say Clone Wars. I'm sure it'll be a different time period.
Yes.
That's all the details we have.
That's it.
There's a new animated show.
And not Detours, obviously.
Not Detours. Well, the quote was, he said, just early stages of production of projects, or just of something else. So this, could be multiple animated shows.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, I mean, we'll get more stuff to replace Clone Wars. And we'll hopefully get the bonus content from Clone Wars.
Yeah. At some point, I don't know when. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to foresee the future. At some point, we are going to be just immersed in Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at some point, a movie, TV show, games, whatever. I mean,
it just takes time to get all this stuff together. So we just have to be patient. I mean, we'll get all that. Just think, a year from now, where are we going to be? We're going to get hopefully screenshots from episode 7. We're gonna know so much more.
Yeah, if Abrams releases it.
That's true. Dang it.
He's very secretive.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it is a worry, though, that I don't know if we're going to get much prior to episode 7 as far as like TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
Games, because it seems like they keep saying we're focusing on episode 7. We're focusing on episode 7. So it seems like they're just whatever resources they have. That's all they're doing is episode 7. So I think maybe they've got to say something at these celebrations. They're having a celebration in Europe.
Yeah.
They got to say something. So, they can't just be like, hey, let's just watch episode 3 again.
Yeah, the panels. They had to.
Oh, yeah. They've got to, especially hopefully, it gets announced officially by then that, like, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and Harrison they're signed on, because Carrie Fisher's going to be there. Even Ian McDermott's going to be back there. Dave Filoni are going to be back in Europe. And we're talking about Celebration Europe, which is in Germany in July, I think. And I bet you right now, I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be a celebration back in Orlando next year.
Yeah, 7. That would be 7.
7. So
for episode 7.
Exactly. So hopefully, there'll be a lot more then. That's why I'm kind of thinking they might push Celebration 7 more towards the release, like they were doing. They used to do, because they used to be doing them right before the movies were coming out.
Right.
Like Celebration 1 was in like April. They were in April before the release of the movies in May. So they may do that again, because they would show footage and all that stuff and have panels from people that were in it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it might take a little while. We just, like you said, we just have to really be patient, and it's just hard. It's so hard.
Well, usually Abrams' style is like a year before the movie comes out, he'll give a teaser.
Exactly.
Teaser.
And wow, that was going to be... But I'm just surprised that they don't do something like, at least something, like a game, or I don't even know, just like, it sounds like a game would be the obvious thing to do to get people kind of into it.
I mean, we'll still be getting comic books and novels.
Yeah.
And we just, actually, another piece of news, the comic book that they're doing, which is sort of, I mean, it's Star Wars, but apparently George Lucas, his first early draft of episode of Star Wars, the first Star Wars, totally different from what we know in the movies. Like, almost everything is opposite. Their Dark Horse Comics is publishing this in like a little mini series comic called The Star Wars, or just Star Wars. So we'll get, I mean, I guess, they won't stop making books. No. They won't stop doing that. But yeah, everything else.
So that's the news up to date. You're up to date as much as we are now of what's going on out there. So the last thing we do every episode is trivia.
Indeed.
So the record is Casey is 1-0-1. I'm 0-1-1, obviously. We tie the first question. You got the second question last week. So anyway, let's see. I think this was the last week's question. You gotta take me. It always takes me a second to find these things, but
are you for the last question that we said?
No, this is the next question.
Next question. Okay.
I was making sure that number was.
Did you already do the?
It did it. Okay. It did it after last week, so it still stays on here. So this is, if you guys are following along, this is the book Obsessed with Star Wars, and this is question 986, which is the Revenge of the Sith era.
Okay, sticking with the prequels here.
Yeah, no. So this is okay. So 986. Wow. Okay, I have no idea. Okay. So, all right. Okay, here we go. Here's the question: how do Polis Massons communicate? Okay. Do you know what a Polis Masson is?
I know what Polis Massa is. Yeah.
Oh, you do.
It's from episode. I'll just say it's the asteroid that they at the end of episode 3, like. Where they met, where Padme gave birth to that little rock thing. Yeah,
that's good because I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go.
Do they communicate A, sign language, B, spoken language, C, high-pitched clicks, or D, with written code?
Yeah. See, I didn't know they actually were like natives. I thought it was just an asteroid floating around.
That's the actual planet?
Or,
so they live on that planet,
right?
Yeah,
I guess it's somewhat of a planet.
Now, if I remember correctly, it's those little things that are like those little creatures.
I remember just like astronaut-looking dudes.
Yeah, that are kind of docking the ship.
Yeah, I thought they were just rebels. I don't know. That's weird.
Well,
So sign
anyway.
language or written language or
Sign
verbal?
language, spoken language, high-pitched clicks, or written code.
High-pitched clicks.
So how do they communicate?
It's a crapshoot.
If you want to guess,
yeah, I'm gonna
take
have
a
to-
guess
have
out
to
there.
guess.
So A is sign language, B spoken language, C high-pitched clicks, D with written code. What are you going to go with? Because I have no idea.
I mean, I could. It's like I'm always get bad at guessing. I'm gonna guess. I'll guess written code.
So you're going to go with written code.
Sure.
Okay.
D.
So he's going to go with D. I'm going to go with... Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to go with written code, though.
Yeah, I mean, probably not it, but
No, it might be. I think I'm going to go with... it's just odd with the high-pitched clicks.
click.
So,
What the heck? I mean,
I'm going to go...
Yeah.
I don't think that's that. I'm going to go with sign language.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with A.
Okay.
And since you went first, I'll select yours first
Okay,
and see
D.
what happens. So here we go. Here's
Jeez, I'll feel bad if I get it right because this is a guess.
incorrect.
Oh.
And the answer is A.
Oh wow!
Sign language.
Nice.
Oh man, that was pure guess.
We're tied.
Pure guess. Yes, we're tied. So anyway, okay. So here's the next question for next week is 810, which I don't know what it is.
810.
810 will be the next question for next week.
Sign language. Polis Massons.
So Polis Masson sign language.
Got it. I'll know that forever.
So now we're one
One and
and one. I'm 1-1-1. So back to being even after
Yeah.
3 episodes.
It's getting pretty.
Getting pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it for the show,
Oh. Okay.
I think, right? That's all we got. Trivia was always the last thing,
Yeah.
right? So Casey Cooley can be followed at Kryptonian1138 on Twitter. I am at dcottingham21 on Twitter. InsideTheForce.com. You can get to our Twitter account, which is at Inside the Force. Follow our RSS feed or subscribe on iTunes. Please, not just for the contest, leave us a comment.
Yeah, just for kicks and gigs.
Just for kicks and gigs, man. We need some more followers. We need some more listeners. We're part of the 21 Network, of course. Go to 21network.com to get all the podcasts. And that's our show. So last but not least, Casey, with your quote.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to try. Wars not make one great. There we go.
There you go.
Wars not make one great.
Great.
There we
That's a
go.
good one.
It's a good. It's
That's a
just,
good yellow.
I mean, good to think about too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously that's episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good quote.
A lot of good quotes from that movie.
Oh man, totally.
From Yoda, especially.
The best one is
No,
whole-
it surrounds us.
yeah,
Like the Force.
finds
Yeah.
us. Yeah, that's awesome.
Of slimy butthole. My homelessness.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I gotta stop.
Good quotes. All right, check us out next week. Don't know what we're profiling yet, but
Nope.
we'll tweet that. We usually try to tweet that before when we come up with it. But episode 4 next week. Not A New Hope, something else. Anyway, thanks for listening. For Casey Cooley.
Goodbye, everybody.
Well, that's
Yeah.
That's when is that when you usually do your quote?
I thought that was the sign off, so I can say something else.
You're right. So the
Yeah.
quote is your sign off. So we got to get that down. Is that
Okay.
right?
Yeah, my sign off.
So when I say for Casey Cooley,
For Casey Cooley,
then
wars
the
not
quote.
make one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
We'll get it down.
Okay.
See, it takes us a couple episodes, but So, Casey Cooley, I'm David Cottingham, and may the Force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network, a collection of weekly podcasts. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.